Let us now consider a typical watershed of about 500 hectares. If supposing this is the main stream in the watershed and this is the ridge boundary of the watershed, the entire extent of area is about 500 hectares. This is how all the watershed development programs are presently being done in India. About 500 hectares. If that is the case, and if these are all the small tributaries for the main stream, these are all the small tributaries. And as we said, this is the ridge line. What we understand by a ridge line, let us now examine in greater detail. Any rainfall occurring on this side of the ridge line would go into the stream here and ultimately flows into the main stream. Any rainfall occurring the other side of the ridge line will go away to some other stream and it will not find a place to any stream within the watershed. In other words, any rainfall occurring within this watershed will have a runoff into the main stream, and the point of consideration, let us say, is this the point of consideration, then the flow that occurs in the stream here would be the one which comes from this entire area. Any runoff from the other areas and these areas would not find a way into the stream. Such runoff will go into neighboring streams. So this is the definition of the ridge line. And when we say watershed, at this particular point, it is the area which drains rainfall runoff to this point, and that is this area. If supposing this is the feature, then what are the various watershed development works that we have to take up in order to increase the recharge to groundwater and also to prevent the soil erosion and soil runoff? If supposing we have to consider that, then there are possibilities for constructing mini percolation tanks as shown in red here. These are all the mini percolation tanks, and these are all to be constructed in the first order of streams. When we say first order of streams, that is a stream without any tributary joining it. For example, this is the first order stream. For example, this is the ridge line here, and this is a first order stream, and at this point another stream of the first order joins. So this portion of the stream is called second order, and at this point one more stream of a first order type joins here, and therefore we call it as third order. Now if we examine these various storages, what we call as mini percolation tanks, these are all to be constructed in the first order streams. We don't find a need to construct anywhere here or anywhere here. That would become second or third order streams. So therefore the activity should be concentrated on the first order streams. The idea is that the recharge takes place at a very close distance from the ridge boundary. Now supposing we do the construction of a recharge work or a storage work here, then it is far away from the ridge boundary and we are almost approaching the valley of the main watershed. And the idea is to have recharge works in the upland areas, that is in the area very close to the ridge boundary, such that any recharge that takes place there would be beneficial to the upland areas, and such recharge would also be available for exploitation in the downstream area or in the main valley also. Supposing the structure is constructed at this point very close to the valley, then the area that would be benefited would be the valley area and not the upland area. So therefore, there is a need to construct number of such recharge works in the upland areas very close to ridge boundary, in order that the upland areas may get the benefit of recharged groundwater. It is possible to construct such small tanks, what we call kunta in local Telugu, and such small works can be very many in number. They can be as many as 30 to 40 in a watershed of 500 hectares. There are some cases in some districts reported that the farmers are able to identify nearly 60 such mini percolation tank sites in a watershed of 500 hectares. So the possibilities of construction of such mini percolation tanks is very much there in all the upland areas of the watersheds taken up in the drought prone areas. We just now discussed that the ridge line is the one that separates this watershed from the neighboring area. We also said that any rainfall occurring in this side of the ridge would find a way into the main stream, whereas in any rainfall occurring on the other side of the ridge will not flow into this main stream, but it will flow away. This is a sort of a surface water divide, we can call it as surface water divide. For example, to illustrate the surface water divide, let us see the streams within the watershed, what we call it as sub-ridges. Ikkada focus cheyandi. Now the sub-ridges within the watershed, let us identify between this first order stream and this first order stream. The sub-ridge would be something like this. That means on this side of the sub-ridge, any rainfall that happens would have a runoff draining into this stream, whereas the rainfall on this side of the sub-ridge would go into this stream. The runoff would go into this stream, and the water divide between these two first order streams is something like this. As what I am drawing here, it would be something like this. That means this area would be contributing for the flow in the stream, whereas this area would be contributing for flow into this stream, and this is the ridge boundary between these two streams. Now like that we have the main stream, and there may be another main stream somewhere there, and this is the ridge boundary separating this main stream and the other neighboring main stream. So this is the way how the ridge boundary or the water divide can be understood. It is a sort of dividing line for the runoff that would take place into this stream as well as into this stream. It is a sort of a dividing line. That is the understanding of ridges. Now we said we have to construct such mini percolation tanks very close to the ridge for the purpose of recharging in the upland areas. We can also think of constructing in the main valley a structure like Echak Dam here, and the purpose of that is to see that some water is stored, and that stored water would contribute for recharge, and that recharge would be in the valley area. For example, we said this is the upper area and this is the valley area. Usually the valley area will have better groundwater potential. That means in the valley area the water table will be at a shallow depth, or sometimes even at the ground level itself or the bed level of the stream itself there may be water table level. Whereas if you come to the upland areas, the water table level could be something like 40 feet deep or 50 feet deep, and the need for doing a recharge work, constructing a recharge work, is more necessary in such recharge areas rather than in a valley area which is discharge prone. We can call it as discharge prone or discharge area. This entire area can be called as discharge area. That means the groundwater appears as surface water, or in other words, groundwater appears as a spring in the main stream. That we call it as a discharge area. That is, groundwater is discharging as surface water in this stream. So that is a discharge area. Or at least supposing there is no spring, the groundwater table level would be very shallow in depth, maybe about 5 feet or 8 feet depth, and we may call it as discharge prone area. And this discharge prone area, to take up a recharge work, would not be very essential. On the other hand, a recharge work has got to be done in a recharge area. This line that is shown here is a sort of a zone separating the recharge area and discharge area. Discharge prone area, that's what is here noted here, discharge area, and here is recharge area. And that means the need for taking up recharge works is very much there on this side of the line, and we have to take up number of such recharge works. In addition to these recharge works, we can also think of having sunken gully pits on these streams. The one shown here like this, they are all sunken gully pits. We will go into the details of the sunken gully pits later on in the other transparencies. We have other details, and we will also discuss about this mini percolation tank details also. In the other posters we have all those details, and for a purpose of general location of this map is useful. That is, the recharge works, especially the mini percolation tanks, will have to be in the first order streams very close to the ridge boundary, and the sunken gully pits will have to be in the first order streams or maximum the second order. It should not be in the third order or the fourth order. So therefore, the sunken gully pits also will have to be in the upper areas. These are nothing but pits where water is stored and water percolates down below, and soil erosion also is prevented because the flow or the discharge in the stream gets reduced. So therefore, the velocity also gets reduced on account of the lesser flows. And the location wise, this map is useful to understand where we can have the sunken gully pits and where we can have the mini percolation tanks. In the four waters concept, the important issue is how to conserve the soil moisture and how to prevent the soil moisture evaporation in order that more amount of rainfall seeps through, percolates down and recharges the water table. If the soil is already having some moisture, then the greater amount of rainfall will go into the water table. If the soil is dry, then the soil has to be made moist, and then when it exceeds the field capacity, the further moisture will gravitate down and recharges the water table. That is the natural phenomenon. And in the engineering works that are attempted for recharge to groundwater, one such work, as we discussed, is the mini percolation tank. This sketch gives the idea of how the longitudinal section at one mini percolation tank would be. This is the ground level where the mini percolation tank would be constructed, and this is the dip. Naturally, such dams or bunds will have to be constructed across dips, across streams, very small streams. Actually, there may not be a stream course, it could be just a dip or a valley. And the only engineering work that has got to be done is to take a longitudinal section at the place where the dam is going to be built. We will call it as earthen bund because it's not such a big dam. It's an earthen bund, and this earthen bund would store some water, and the water spread of such a structure would be about half an acre. That means the submersion area on account of such a storage built through an earthen dam of this type would be only just about half an acre storage area. And this is a very simple small construction costing around rupees 5,000 to 10,000 rupees, and this would be across a small dip having a catchment area of about 5 to 10 hectares, a small catchment area, and the submersion area, as I said, is only about half an acre of submersion area. The maximum height of the bund at the dip would be 2 meters. This cross section or the profile of the ground varies from place to place. In one place it could be even like this, a deeper one. Another place it could be shallow right up to like this, and then the deep one may be like this and can go. It all depends upon the ground condition where the earthen dam is proposed. So it has to be done by way of a survey of the ground. We have to determine the alignment of the earthen dam by way of field reconnaissance, inspect and then locate the very possible site for that, and then take a longitudinal section with a leveling instrument, determine the levels at these points, level here, level here, level here. These levels will have to be taken with a dumpy level, and we have to plot this on a graph paper and determine the top level of the bund. This is the top level of the bund. So the height of the earthen dam at this point would be, this is the height. At this point would be this one. At this point would be this height. And at this point it is this height. And the maximum height as seen here at this point is 2.1 meter. And here at this point is 1.1 meter. It is 0.7 meter. 0.6 meter here, 0.9 meter. It is divided into sections of 10 meters. This is 10 meters up to this, 20 meters, 30 meters, that is the distance is again 10 meters only. The total length is 60 meters, supposing it is so. And each section has got to be estimated, each section of 10 meter length. So when it has to be estimated, we go by the average depth. Average depth for this section is 0.6 meter. Average depth for this section is 0.9 meter. Similarly for this section it is 1.2 meter. As against these average depths, we have a table giving the quantities of earthwork involved and the rate and the cost of the structure. So we will go into that table later on, and the table gives an estimate in a ready reckoner fashion without measuring the quantities, without working out the quantities, and without actually calculating the costs. They are all given in the ready reckoner table, which gives the cost of the earthen dam. What all we have to know from the field condition is what are the depths of earthen dam at various distances for this type of profile and for this top level of the earthen dam. So these are the things that will have to be determined at site, and having known these vertical heights, we can calculate the quantities of earthwork involved and other costs and work out the estimate.